This really is a fantastic film and so cleverly and well made. Even if you have a fear of plane crashes, I think the subject matter in this film is so well handled that even you might be able to sit through it comfortably. We'll see. Anyway, there isn't a whole lot of content to worry about in this film. There certainly isn't any violence. There are scenes of plane crashes. There is, of course, the incident which the film revolves around, which is the miracle on the Hudson, the incredible landing of Flight 1549 on the Hudson River by Chesley Sullenberger. So you do see that, and you see it recreated a few times. So interestingly, though, it's not one of those sequences where once you've seen it once, you know it's coming. Each time you see parts of the event recreated, it gets more and more thrilling and actually gets more and more suspenseful and tense and riveting. Whereas, you know, most times once we've seen flashback footage a few times, we tend to get a little bit kind of bored. But something about the way that Clint Eastwood handles this, it makes it more exciting every time you see it. But there are a few dream sequences as well where you do see planes crashing into buildings. Of course, this is New York, so the obvious connection and the obvious emotions and you know, kind of concerns that come up with the idea of planes crashing into buildings in New York is certainly very present, particularly if you are a New York-based audience member. Sex and nudity, there isn't any sex or nudity in the film. The closest it gets is there is a scene of a shirtless man, let's call him Tom Hanks, sitting in, looks like he's in the bathroom of his hotel. There's a lot of steam and he's wearing a towel, but he does have his shirt off. That really is it, the only nudity in the film. Swearing, there is the F word is said once, I think, the S word maybe 2 or 3 times, A word again once, and I think bitch and bastard are both said once or twice, but really, again, that's it. There really isn't a whole lot of bad language in the film, and drug and alcohol references. Okay, so because the incident is aviation related and it is handled by the NTSB, most of this film, if you don't already know, is actually about the way the NTSB handled the fallout. Once the incident occurred, the NTSB then had to investigate. NTSB, of course, being the National Transport Safety Board in the US, who then had to investigate why this happened and if it was the best decision made by the captain on the day. I mean, was he actually putting the lives of all of those passengers who ended up surviving, was he actually putting them at risk by performing this incredible procedure? So this is about the investigation which followed the incident in early January of 2009. So, of course, there's a mention of drug testing and alcohol testing and, you know, which involves blood and urine testing. You don't see any of it happen, but that is kind of the closest reference you get to drugs. And with alcohol, there is one scene set in a bar where you see people drinking beer and spirits. But again, you know, it's not a heavy theme in the film either. What I do really like about this film is just the way it is handled in terms of the aviation references. It doesn't dumb it down. So even some of the abbreviation terms like the APU, NTSB, these kind of things, they just use the abbreviation. They assume you either already have that prior knowledge or that you'll kind of get what it is. It doesn't go to great pains of dumbing it down for the audience, which I actually really like. For me, that elevated it to a certain more cerebral and accessible level. And there's just some fantastic little attention to detail sort of sequences in the film that I completely didn't expect. For example, one of them for me was when he's talking to his wife, played by Linney, on the phone, and she is opening a box in the bedroom and there's his captain's hat in the box. Now, some people would think that's an error, that why doesn't he have his hat with him while he is in New York? But the truth is most pilots don't actually bother wearing the hat as part of the uniform, and they very much tend to leave them sitting in a cardboard box sort of up on a shelf in their bedroom. So things like that, just those little kind of quirky moments which are so realistic, really made this film like even better for me. I think it's an amazing film. As I said, it's kind of hard going in that you know it's involving a plane crash, and even though of course you know the story, so you know that there are survivors. I mean, everyone survived this rather remarkable landing, emergency landing made by Sullenberger, but there's just something, you know, so intriguing about seeing it from that first person point of view. I mean, you really do feel like you're sitting in the plane, you know, as this event unfolds. So for that, you know, I definitely recommend it. I really do feel that the plane crash sequences are very, very well handled and should be accessible to most people, unless of course you have a very, you know, mobilising and frightening fear of planes or plane crashes, then yeah, of course, you know, you might want to avoid this one. Otherwise, go and see Sully. It's starring Tom Hanks and directed by Clint Eastwood, you know, which says everything for me, but it really is a wonderful film. So go enjoy it, and let me know what you think in a comment below. Of course, there's a slightly more detailed breakdown of Sully on my website, which is cinemum.net.